Hello. Are you getting ready to use your interactive notebooks for students to take notes? That's what this video is about. It's handy that you're here. Now, if you already know about Cornell notes, Costa's questions, essential questions, how to write summaries, things like that, then you can go on to the next video in my series of how to teach middle school science. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, why don't you stay tuned for a little bit. You're going to need some notebook paper and something to write with. Now, last time we talked about notebooking and setting up a notebook. So we're going to use that notebook, but you can do what we're doing today with just notebook paper and a pen or a pencil. And sorry, when I put white here, it makes the video get dark. I don't know why. I'm not smart enough to figure that out, but that's okay. When we numbered our notebook pages, we had a table of contents. Then we started with that left-hand side with 1, 2, and you turn the page 3, 4, and so forth. And I know this seems a little weird that we're starting with this left-hand page when everybody's used to starting on the front page. It has to do with brain science. Your left brain is in control of the right side of your body, or so they say. And the left brain is more about logic, lists, facts, information. So if you are doing an interactive notebook and you put facts on the right-hand side of your facing pages, it's supposed to trigger your learning about facts and logical sequences and information. Then when you use the left side page, which is controlled by the right side of your body, whether you're right or left-handed, it doesn't matter. Your right side of your body is associated with creativity, synthesis, and analysis. And the left side activities is what we call these things, is where the students use the information immediately to synthesize something new. Now, this is highest level Bloom's. This is where you want to be. Here's where you really glue that learning in. How many times have you given notes and the kids have never looked at the notes that you can tell again? Or you do a quiz the second day and say you can use your notes the day after you just gave them, and the kids are all, well, I can't find my notes, they're loose, they're somewhere at the bottom of my backpack. Well, that's why we have composition notebooks, because it keeps everything in place. Any loose paper gets glued in, everything is right there. Any handout you give them associated with this information, you'd glue it in as a flapper, just like a post-it note. You'd glue it here and fold it in. Keep everything in one place so it's easier for the students to scan it, to study, to use it for a quiz, things like that. So we're going to go over this process. Now, this is based on the Cornell notes and the Costa's questions, and all this is pulled together in a program called AVID, which I'm trained in. It's Advancement via Individual Determination. Can't talk. It's a really cool program out of California, and it teaches children how to do school, basically. And it's you're going to have to teach these kids how to do everything that you want them to do. They don't come to you knowing this, so just be prepared. Doesn't matter what grade level you teach. You're going to have to teach them this. But if everybody in your grade level would do this, and then if everybody in your entire school would do it, it would make it so much easier for you when, by the time they got to 8th grade, in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade middle school, like we have in Texas, by the time they got to 8th grade, they'd already know everything, and you wouldn't have any trouble. You could just get right into it. Because this takes some time to teach. And with your administrator screaming, why aren't you in your content? Why aren't you in your content? Well, you know what? Sometimes you got to teach them stuff before you get started. And this is one of those times. So anyway, got some paper? Got some pens? Okay, we're going to start. So basically, Cornell notes, well, if I can organize it here. You take the margin, see the margin? And you come a thumb width to the right. And then you draw yourself a vertical line all the way down. And then from the bottom up, about 4 lines, you draw a horizontal line and you write summary. So the kids will take notes in this space. They'll have keywords or topics here. They'll have topic, which you will give them, and an essential question, or EQ, which you will give them. And your essential question is basically your objective for the day. What are you teaching them? What is your TEK or your whatever your Common Core is, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're teaching that day goes here. So if you were teaching the speed formula, the TEK for speed formula is calculate speed using the formula. Okay. So your essential question would need to be something like, explain how one calculates speed using the formula. And then by the end of the note-taking session, down here in the summary, the children know they're going to have to be able to explain how to calculate speed using a formula. So you got metacognition in there. You got the kids are aware, okay, this is what I need to know, and they're halfway through and they don't know it. They're going to look around and say, hey, what am I missing? Or they'll know to ask questions. A lot of times kids don't even know what they don't know. And if you tell them what it is you're going to teach them, and then when you're teaching them, they're not quite getting it, they can be intelligent and say, hey, I'm not understanding this last part. Because they know they have to understand each piece to get to the final thing. They want to be successful. They want to learn what you're teaching them, and they get frustrated very easily. Now, when you're giving notes in this manner, you have to give notes in an intelligent way. You have to give notes in the way you want it to appear on the page, so you really need to think about what you're saying. If you are showing a PowerPoint to give the notes, that's great, but you've got to teach the children, don't just copy everything that's on the PowerPoint. They're going to have to go ahead and start putting it in their own words. Now, they can use text speech, they can use abbreviations, they can use symbols like up or down arrows. They can write in their native language. If they speak Spanish at home, they can do notes in Spanish, because you're not grading the notes. You would grade the summary. You would grade the questions they're going to write, but you're not grading their notes. You just may check to see that they're there. But that's a waste of time. Don't grade the notes. Give them a quiz. Tell them they can use their notes. If you want to grade notes, that's how you grade your notes, plus you got a quiz grade. Okay? And I would encourage you to let the children use their notes. If they take notes and they find, oh, hey, that helps me on my quizzes, then they'll take notes better. They've got to see an immediate benefit of doing something, or they won't do it. If you never check the notebooks, they're not going to keep the notebooks, so you're wasting your time. You've got to check these notebooks every 3 weeks or so. Your district probably required it anyway, and you might as well have a grade. Even if you don't put it in the grade book, you need to write on there, okay, you got 70% of your work done. That's not enough. You need to do better. So grade what you want to see, because you won't see it if you don't grade it. These children are, especially your high-level kids, are very, very effective. They will cut corners any way they think they can, and if you aren't grading something, even if it doesn't go in the notebook, it doesn't matter. You're still grading it. But if you're not grading it, they won't do it, because they're not going to waste their time. Your GT or honors kids are so busy all the time. They're doing all these extracurricular things, and even your regular students are busy too. And if they think they can drop something off and nobody will notice, they'll drop it off. And we're all like that. So you've got to grade this stuff, but don't grade the notes, because that's a waste of time. So anyway, the kids can write however they want, but they need to follow the format. They're going to write phrases. If you're doing notes and somebody says, oh, I'm not done, then they're taking too long. You need to keep a pace up, because you're going to bore people who are faster. Now, you may want to get in the habit with some of your children who have learning disabilities or need some sort of individual help. You may want to print out the PowerPoint for them and let them highlight the important points, and then they write it in their notes, but they need to write the notes. They may not be able to look up at a screen and get the information, because some kids can't look up and then look down and write. That's true. But they need to write the notes, whether they do it from a handout in front of them or from looking at a screen or from collecting information from an article, however you're presenting the information. But if you're giving notes, make sure you give it in an intelligent, cohesive manner. Okay, so let's say we're doing speed. So you have your essential question here, you have them write it here, and they know that you're going to require them to write a summary on the information. Okay? So it's ahead of time. You're telling them, this is what I'm teaching you. You need to be able to do it by the time we're done. All right? Okay. So let's say the first word you teach them is speed. What is speed? And then you give them the definition. Then maybe you'd want to do velocity, because a lot of times the testing is what's the difference between speed and velocity. Velocity is speed in a direction, north, south, east, west, left, right, whatever. Then you might do, say, the formula, and then write the formula and the variables and what they mean out here. All right? So now you've got some notes. Then the kids are going to come down here and they're going to explain the essential question. And there are a couple ways of doing summaries. One is to do the essential question, students explain it. Another is a cool thing. It's called a 12-word summary. This is going to really freak your kids out. Some of your kids just are never going to be able to deal with it. You tell them, write a summary of what you just taken notes on in exactly 12 words. But they'll say, well, can I do it in 11 words? No, 12 words. What about 13 words? No, 12 words. It has to be exactly 12 words. Because if they can really concentrate and they're thinking about it, and all the time that they spend thinking about this information means they're going to remember it better. And it gets to be kind of a challenge because it's hard to write a 12-word summary. You try it. Now, the first few times you do it, you tell them this is what they need to do, and then you share some good ones, and the kids who are stumped will copy the other people's down. But that doesn't need to happen very often. Most of the time, students need to make their own. And I would have them share immediately with their shoulder partner or their face partner. Otherwise, the kids won't do it. Again, you've got to have accountability. If they don't know that they're going to be asked to share with somebody at their table or out loud, just calling on people, they have to have something written there. Everybody can tell whether they've got something written there or not. They need to know that they're going to be held accountable. So the 12-word summary, you can say, you can give me a complete idea. It doesn't have to be a complete sentence necessarily, but it has to be a complete idea, not just words or phrases. It has to, of course, be related to what we're talking about. It has to be related to what we're talking about here. Got it? But it doesn't have to be a sentence, perfect sentence. Okay? All right. So once you've taken the notes and they've written their summary, either a 12-word summary or answering the essential question, and your kids will get to the point where they ask you, hey, are we doing a 12-word summary today? Because they love 12-word summaries. They complain about it, but they secretly love it. Okay, so once you've done your notes and they've written a summary, which the summary is something they can do for homework. You have built-in homework in this notebook. That's why it's important to decide, can I send the notebook home for homework for students to write in? Depending on how long your class is, some schools have 45-minute classes, some schools have 90-minute classes. If you have a longer class period, then your student should be able to do all the work in the notebook at school, but if you have a shorter period, you're going to run out of time. So you could send this home, and this is automatic homework. You don't have any worksheets. Everything's right here. Okay, so step 1 was taking the notes. Step 2 is summarizing or answering the essential question. Next, the children will take highlighters or colored pens or even matte pencils, and they will underline important words and draw lines or circles around the pieces of information that go together, like everything about the speed formula in one color, everything about what velocity is in another, and so forth. You're going to add color. You want to add up to 4 colors. 4 triggers learning and memory. 4 colors. Anything they do, you need to ask them have at least 4 colors. And yeah, pen or pencil is 1 color. But some of them will really take to it and use multiple colors when they're taking notes. And that is fine too. You're getting your auditory learners when you're speaking. You're getting your visual learners when they're writing and when they're adding color. And the more they fiddle with it, the more you're getting your different learning channels. And we'll do some more that will attract kinesthetic learners over here. Okay, so once you've done the notes, you've done the summary, and you've blocked or chunked the information, then you can have the kids come back and make up questions as if they were the teacher on this material right here. And this is where Costa's questions come in. Now, Costa's questions are questions that are they're not question words. They're like explain, imagine, predict. These are the words that are used. Now, I will have a link for Costa's house in my materials, if I can figure out. Okay. So Costa's house is 3 levels. And the basic level is going to be knowledge level. It's going to be list, describe, select, recite. So you would start questions with these words. And these questions are not who, what, where, when, how questions. Costa's questions are more like telling you something to do, a declarative statement, where you're saying, you're starting the question with these words, and there's not even a question mark at the end of these questions. Kids have a hard time with that for some reason. So level 1 is your basic knowledge, which everybody needs to start out. But you want to be working higher up. This also corresponds with your higher level of blooms. Now the second level is compare, contrast, distinguish, sort, infer. And then your higher level, your third, raise the roof, and my phone is ringing.